the fallout from the Supreme Court's immunity ruling continues, and we have some of those reactions for you. First, we have this from Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's planning to file articles of impeachment. She wrote on Twitter yesterday, "The Supreme Court has become consumed by a corruption crisis beyond its control. Today's ruling represents an assault on American democracy. It is up to Congress to defend our nation from this authoritarian capture. I intend on filing articles of impeachment upon our return." Now, she didn't specify how many justices or what specific justices she would seek to impeach, but many calls for removal have already been made for Justices Thomas and Alito regarding their breach of ethics. So we'll see where that goes, but as it stands with the current congressional makeup, it's unlikely to be successful.
The video will continue in just a moment, but first I have a message for you. TYT needs your help. Membership is vital to survival, so please go to tyt.com/team and become a member today.
The only Supreme Court justice to ever be impeached was Associate Justice Samuel Chase all the way back in 1804, but he was later acquitted in the Senate the following year. So we'll keep an eye on that and update you as it develops. But then there's Senator Bernie Sanders, who said, "The Supreme Court is out of control. If these conservative right-wing corporate-sponsored justices want to make public policy, they should simply quit the Supreme Court and run for political office." And not to be outdone, a tanned President Joe Biden gave a speech slamming the decision. Take a look.
"This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. With today's Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity, that fundamentally changed. For all practical purposes, today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what a president can do. This is a fundamentally new principle, and it's a dangerous precedent, because the power of the office will no longer be constrained by the law, even including the Supreme Court of the United States. The only limits will be self-imposed by the president alone.
Now, Biden's campaign is desperate to find a lifeline after that disastrous debate last week, and they're hoping that this could help them. They've already started to fundraise off of this decision. You can see here, as reported in Mediaite, Biden campaign immediately fundraises off Trump immunity ruling, warns of Trump's unhinged quest for power. So Yasmin, I want to bring you in here. I'm wondering if you think the Democrats will actually do anything. Will they accomplish anything, or is this all just rhetoric? What do you think?
Yeah, so this is pretty distressing for a lot of people when all of these things came out from the Supreme Court. And I know Justice Sotomayor went into a lot of detail about exactly how and why it's all so distressing. The articles of impeachment are a good start, I think. For the record, as you said, I don't think they'll go anywhere. And of course, we need a lot more details about them. But there is something to be said about at least attempting to govern and do what needs to be done, even in a system that's so obviously corrupt as this current one that we have. But really, we have all been waiting for Biden to enact some kind of reform for the Supreme Court for years. It hasn't happened yet. Understandably, that would be a really big move for him to do as the president. We know that several of the justices are unapologetically corrupt and emboldened. They're publicly doing these things. We know what they're doing, why they're making these decisions the way that they are. And they don't care, because what are we gonna do? We're all gonna rise up and revolt? Like, we're not marching on the Supreme Court right now. So they feel like they can get away with a lot of these things. Biden could and should expand the court, but it's hopefully, it's really distressing when all of these things happen with a Democratic president. And I think that's going to be a big point for Biden going into this 2024 election. The fact that women lost a lot of their rights while he was president. A lot of things happened that should not have happened with a Democratic president under a Democratic administration. But because of the way our system has become so entrenched with, like the Supreme Court, and also in Congress, it's the Democrats have suffered a lot of losses under this Democratic president. So hopefully he has between now and November to turn it around. Even if it is rhetoric at this point, we need some kind of guarantees that things are going to change and get better going forward.
Right. I was talking to a friend last night about the articles of impeachment. He's a lot older, a lot wiser than me. And he pointed out how we need to look at anything the Democrats do in this moment, specifically the articles of impeachment comment from AOC. We need to look at it in the same context we look at the right-wing takeover of the judiciary. That was a long, sustained campaign. Federalist Society started as a campus group in colleges, and it continued to grow year after year after year. The left needs a long, sustained movement to tackle this problem of corruption in the Supreme Court, but also throughout the judiciary. So we shouldn't just roll our eyes and dismiss what is probably going to be a failed effort. It's one step that we continue to build on. You continue to build momentum year after year after year. And unfortunately, it might take some time. There's not an easy overnight fix. You could also start, like you say, Yasmin, I agree, at least threaten to pack the court. FDR didn't, but his threats alone changed the outcome of decisions. So at least try something. I think that's what Democrats and supporters and liberals desperately want to see. More than just tweets, more than just rhetoric and speeches. They want to see something material that Democratic leaders are doing.
Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.